and welcome back. And if you're new here, hi, hello, welcome. My name is Zoe and this is my channel, Ms. Manga, where I talk a lot about manga. But today we're going to mix things up. It's a casual video and just gonna talk about some of my favorite nostalgic animation from my childhood. So this can include anime or cartoons or animation from different countries actually, but predominantly are either anime or cartoons from America. But as a kid, I didn't really know there was a difference. In my mind, everything was a cartoon. Anything that was animated, I just considered a cartoon until later on when I realized, oh, certain ones of these shows weren't actually made in America. And I didn't know that, but it didn't matter to me as a kid. If I liked the show and I really liked animation, then I was hooked. And because I'm so old, I had this thing called Saturday morning cartoons, and it was like, it's one of my most favorite, memories or moments from childhood. It's like, I don't really remember it because all the Saturdays were kind of the same, but essentially you got up and there was blocks of cartoons just for me. It wasn't just for me, but I think everyone from like that 90s, early 2000s era will kind of remember like WB Kids and stuff. That was like one of the main ones that took a lot of anime and dubbed it for American audiences. So yeah, and if you're not from that generation, if you're too young to remember Saturday morning cartoons, I feel old, first of all. And yeah, I mean, maybe you'll still know some of these shows, but I don't know. I'd be curious if you would comment below if you aren't from that same age demographic, but you know some of these shows, or what your favorite shows as a kid were growing up in the like later 2000s, early 2010s even, because that would be fascinating. I didn't know what was like popular anymore and wasn't watching cartoons a lot for that portion of my life really. I'd either just switched entirely to anime when I wanted my animation fix, or I was watching more live action things by that point. But yeah, my childhood was 99% animation. I loved animation from a young age. Since it's my birthday month this month when this is going up, I just wanted to indulge in some nostalgia, so bear with me. Also, yes, if you watched a casual video from April, I am wearing the same shirt, the same outfit. This is the same day, but not for you guys. I figured it's like a month apart, so it should be okay. And I had like nice, I put eye makeup on for once, so oh well. Oh my gosh. All right, so we're starting this video out with some honorable mentions. I won't say too much about them, but these are just other shows from my childhood that I really loved. I, have fond memories of. I've watched some of the episodes even as an adult or later in life, and still think are really good shows. They just didn't make my top 5, but then we'll get into my top 5. So first up, we have Sailor Moon. I mean, it's just quintessential late 90s anime. I don't know what to tell you. I wish that I had been a little older. I feel like I would have, been able to watch more, catch more on TV. What I did catch, I so loved. And especially the freaking theme song. I will mention this a bunch, but I feel like this time period, especially, again, it's probably nostalgia, but they had some real bangers for their OP. And these are like the English dub version of these OPs for the anime anyway. And so a lot of them are really good though. Dubbing has its ups and downs, but they made some banger OPs. I have to give it to them. Hats off for that. And Sailor Moon is one of them. Magical girls of fighting evil and, and tuxedo mask, love interest. I mean, I was all here for it. So next up we have another anime, Cardcaptor Sakura. This one was so cute. Again, another magical girl, but you know, I just love this one. The opening does not come to me, and that makes me think it wasn't a really memorable, amazing opening, but anyway, it's just about this girl who releases all these cloud cards, and the cloud cards kind of come to life and wreak havoc, and it's now her job to go stop the cards from wreaking havoc and collect them all again. That is the mission. Short, sweet, simple. And yeah, and we got Tomoyo, who was her best friend and like personal videographer, follow her around with a camcorder. It was so random but adorable, and she'd make all her costumes, and she had the cutest costumes. Like, I just loved her costumes. And then we have Hamtaro, my best friend. Sorry. Again, another really cute opening. I love it. It's so just like perky and adorable, and it totally fits the tone of this show, which is just about adorable hamsters getting into mischief when their owners leave for the day. So, it's adorable. I loved it. I loved it so much. I mean, I still love it, but I had like the whole like Hamtaro playset and stuff. Anyway, it's just a cute, mindlessly cute, adorable show. What else can you say about hamsters running around getting into trouble? Talking hamsters. And then we have some of the cartoons that I really, really loved as a kid, and that would be Rugrats, which was like my first favorite show. Like, I was obsessed with Rugrats as a kid, and this was like when I was like 3 or 4 or 5 or so, when I really like, you know, started watching cartoons, watching TV. Like, I watched it from a young age, okay, because I just really liked it, and so my parents would put it on to make me, you know, sit down and shut up. They wouldn't put it on for me a lot, so I was really excited when they would. And I just adored the Rugrats. I went and saw both of the movies, I believe, in theaters. They're really good movies. They're really solid. I really love Rugrats movie and Rugrats in Paris. Just throwing that out there. And yeah, babies that can talk to each other, but the grown-ups can't understand. And Angelica teasing and bullying and trying to use the babies to her advantage, and then usually getting thwarted or, you know, getting put in their place by the babies or by adults. It's an easy, simple formula, and it worked for me. And Rugrats was easily my like favorite show that I remember as like a really young kid. And then next we have Wild Thornberrys. I loved Eliza. Eliza got to talk to animals. Kid me was like, oh my god, can I have that power, please? And she was nerdy but adventurous and brave, and I just related to her as a glasses girl. Related to her. Obviously I wear contacts, but as a kid I wear glasses. And then we have Jackie Chan Adventures. That's one might be more obscure. My friend and I just got talking about it. She like randomly brought it up, and I was like, I just was thinking about this show for this video. But yeah, I love this show. It was one of the few shows my dad would watch with me too, and then later on we would like check out his live action movies and watch them and stuff. I really enjoyed them. But the character, you know, does the like martial arts, kung fu stuff. And then he's also got the younger girl that follows him around in his adventures. But there are these zodiac talisman, and they give you like powers and stuff when you hold on to them, and you can fight using the zodiac talisman. But anyway, the goal is to collect all 12 zodiac talisman before the bad guy group does. I don't remember, like, you know, I think he's like, his background's like an archaeologist. I don't remember if he like had a role in releasing the talisman or something. Can't remember the beginning. I should go back and rewatch it. But I just remember how like awesome like the fight scenes were, and they were just fun and imaginative, and yeah, I really like that. And we have Kim Possible. Yeah, okay, another really banger opening, and it's another awesome kick butt show. This time Kim, who is our lead character, and her action scenes are fun and creative, and again, I really like fast-paced action stories, but I like there to be girls in the mix. So yeah, We got KP kicking butt, taking names, taking on all these villains, and then she's got her goofy, lovable sidekick Ron, Stoppable, and Rufus, the naked mole rat companion, and they're just the adorablest. They're so cute. Yeah. So that was such a good show. Oh, it's so good. And then we also have Totally Spies, another girls kicking butt and taking names show where these three girls are, you know, normal, again, like Kim Possible, normal teenagers, but then they're sent on these super secret spy missions, and it's Charlie's Angels. It's Charlie's Angels for kids. And it's so good. And their clothes are so colorful and cute. And I just remember loving all their little gadgets. Like they'd have like a lipstick laser, and like, it's good. It was good. Spies, teenage girl spies. I'm sold. And then we had Scooby-Doo, especially Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated. So I watched like all different kinds of Scooby-Doo growing up, like the old classic Scooby-Doo. But then I remember when Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated came out, because I feel like it was like towards the later end of when I was still like watching a lot of cartoons. And I just remember being like, this story is so good. They really like amped up the characterizations and the kind of having an overarching plot for Scooby-Doo, because Scooby-Doo is essentially very episodic, you know. You solve a mystery and then you go home. But the gang and Scooby have more to do in Mystery Incorporated, and they have more like interpersonal relationships, you know, and dynamics going on. And yeah, it's my favorite Scooby-Doo iteration. I think it's a lot of people's favorite Scooby-Doo iteration, and there's a reason. It's because it's really good. It's funny and can be a little dark at times, and got great mystery in it. And then lastly, I know this has gone on for way too long. Lastly, we have Code Lyoko, which just got kicked out of 5th place. It was very close between Code Lyoko and my 5th place winner. And Code Lyoko is actually a French-made animation, I believe. I will double check. I'm pretty sure I remembered correctly. And that this is also dubbed, and I never noticed as a kid. I can kind of tell sometimes it's dubbed. I like rewatched bits of it on Netflix, because it's on Netflix right now. I mean, the kids that stumble upon this like supercomputer thing, and they get like sucked into it and get to this alternate world situation, which I love alternate world situations. and you know, they kind of have to defeat Xana, the big bad, in this world, so that, you know, any bad things that leaked out of the world will be resolved, because they turned on this computer and so kind of like rebooted Xana and stuff. So there's this whole conflict between them. And I really like how the animation changes between 2D animation for when they're in the real world, and then this like computer stylized like video game graphic 3D animation for when they're in the virtual world. And yeah, I absolutely love the creativity of this show. Is it a bit episodic? You know, again, yes, there's an overarching, you know, have to save Alita, who is trapped in the Xana world, and then also defeat Xana. But, you know, in the meantime, they have to just kind of battle each threat that comes up. Finally done with the honorable mentions. All right, number 5, we have Kids Next Door. I love Kids Next Door. Again, this one is pretty episodic, which you'd think that means that I wouldn't like it on rewatching as an adult, because it wouldn't keep my attention. But god damn, it keeps my attention. I mean, not every episode is amazing or, you know, my favorite, and sometimes I'd like lose interest in the episode or whatever, but they're still just like, I think it's because it relies a lot heavier on comedy than action, that it just keeps being entertaining, and I enjoy the kids and their hijinks. So yeah, essentially there's 5 kids. Number 1, Nigel Uno, he's the leader. And we got number 2, Hoagie. He is the kind of more comic relief character. I mean, they're all kind of funny, and get into funny situations, but he's the more jokester of the group. Then we got number 3, my favorite, Cookie. She's so cute. I love Cookie.
Toys? I don't want toys. I want revenge!
And then we have number 4 and Wallaby. He's Australian. I thought it was an odd name, but anyway, he's the like, you know, rather fight than, you know, think. It's kind of an idiot. So yeah, he'd rather use his fist than his brain. And I absolutely adore him and Cookie. Like, Wally and Cookie are adorable. I ship them so hard. They're so cute. And then of course we have number 5, Abigail. I love Abigail. She is like the tough, quote unquote, member of the team. She's more cool. She's more cool, calm, collected. Her and Nigel are like kind of, he's the leader, but she's like the de facto shadow leader, like that also kind of tries to keep everybody on track. Because kids can get distracted, you know? And yeah, so these kids are part of a larger network of kids who are fighting adult tyranny. I just love it. And all the bad guys are like super kind of hokey villains, but sometimes can be really threatening. And then especially the big bad villain, which is Father. He is kind of scary at times, like for real, for real. And then of course his kids, quote unquote, gosh, the delightful kids from down the lane. Sorry, they got this weird ass title. So it's funny. It's good fun. It doesn't take itself too seriously, but will also hit you with some real touching, deeper moments throughout, sporadically. But usually it's just very lighthearted, fun shenanigans, and I absolutely love it. And the ending always makes me cry. It's just, gets me in the feels. Number 4. Now I'm going to keep saying number instead of number. But number 4 is Pokemon. Who does love Pokemon? If you were born in the 90s, late 80s, even the early 2000s, come on. I feel like this is the most obvious one to be on anybody's list. But yeah, I love Pokemon. And speaking of banger openings, I mean, Pokemon is the most iconic of the like late 90s anime dubbed cartoon shows that were airing at the time. And it's still like such a good one. Anyway, Pokemon, it's great. It's awesome. It follows 3, well, in the beginning anyway, it follows 3 kids. Ash is our main protagonist who wants to be the very best, like no one ever was, to catch them. It's my real test. To train them in the God. Pokemon. Sorry. Anyway, he wants to be the best. He wants to catch all the Pokemon. And yeah, that's his motivation. And then right when he starts his journey, he runs into Misty. I absolutely adored Misty. I thought she was great. It was funny. Is she annoying now? Yeah, a little bit when I rewatch certain episodes. But other times she's fine. But she can be... But I loved her. I thought she was so funny. And yeah, Ash deserved most of the time that he got hit. And then we have Brock, who they run into shortly after. And he's just like weird. I'm so mean. Sorry, Brock. No shade. But like he seems like the calm, cool, like older, you know, kid of the group. They are kids traveling alone by themselves. This is like their parents sent them off and were like, yeah, cool, we're good with this, which is strange. But anyway, he seems like he's the most level-headed of the group and the most mature. But then when he meets a quote-unquote hot girl, he's like 14, 13? I don't know. Ash is 10. I know Brock's older than him, but like, my dude. Every Nurse Joy, every Officer Jenny, he's like, oh. Calm down, you hormonal child. Anyway, so Brock was always kind of annoying. But he's the comic relief and stuff. And then, of course, we have Team Rocket, our every episode antagonist who never really feels much of a threat at all. But they decide early on that their goal in life is to catch Ash's Pikachu. He seems like it seems like the best Pokemon. And then their boss, Giovanni, would really love. The boss is kind of menacing and creepy, but like you hardly ever see him, so like it doesn't really matter. But yeah, they're trying. Their motivation is to try and steal Pikachu for their boss. And then they have the annoying only talking Pokemon, by the way, not counting the movies where Mewtwo talks. But by the way, side note, the first movie, it's really good. It's a banger. I love that movie. That movie is so good. I got to see it in theaters. It was so great. And I really liked the second one too. But that was probably because I really liked Misty at the time, and so she had like a little bit of a bigger role. But yeah, I still think the first movie stands up. It's still good. I've watched it some way recently, and I was like, oh. Getting all the feels. But yeah, other than him, Meowth is the only talking Pokemon, which is just random, never explained from the course of the anime that I watched anyway. Maybe it gets explained later on in a movie or in something, but not when I was watching it as a kid. And Team Rocket's also trying to steal some other Pokemon whenever they come across them too. So they're usually just getting in the way, being a hindrance, and being annoying. But they do have a catchy theme song that they sing every single time they pop up. Oh, good gosh. But that one's fun. I mean, yeah, it's quotable. And yeah, this is again very episodic. Usually the kids run into some sort of problem or into some sort of like a Pokemon battle. Team Rocket shows up at some point and they have to battle them, and then they say, "We're blasting off again." Very episodic, very by the numbers, but it's still fun, still entertaining. And I, of course, was obsessed with the Pokemon. Adorable little Pokemon that you can have in little balls. Store them in little balls, and then you can have them come out and be your bestie buddy. Yeah, I want one. Number 3, we have Avatar: The Last Airbender. Avatar is probably, I would say, objectively the best story overall. Like, if you are looking for just like an animated show with a beginning, middle, and end that is well done, then I would say that is Avatar. Even though I like 2 other shows better than Avatar, doesn't mean I can't appreciate its world building and storytelling as being the best. And Avatar is essentially a world in which people can have these elemental powers. So we have airbending, waterbending, we have earthbending, and we have firebending. So 100 years ago, the Avatar, who is the master of all 4 elements, so he's the only one who can do air, water, fire, and earth bending. Everyone else just gets 1 bending ability. But 100 years ago, he vanished. And at the same time, the Fire Nation, who has all the fire bending people, decided to kind of start taking over the other nations that once lived in harmony. Essentially, I'm just speaking to you like the opening dialogue that they play before every episode. But yeah, that's the gist of this show. And the story begins when 2 Water Tribe members, Sokka, who doesn't have any bending ability, and Katara, who does have water bending abilities, finds a boy seemingly encased in a ball of ice, and Katara somehow manages to like break the ice and releases Aang, who is the Avatar that was missing for 100 years. He had got caught up in a storm and somehow, like, you know, in peril, in danger of his life, he had like gone into the Avatar state and created this like frozen ball orb thing to encase him and Appa, his bison that can fly in this world. They're really cool. So that's how the story begins. And then, of course, you have our antagonist. Our first antagonist is Zuko, who has been banished from the Fire Nation and is trying to regain his honor and be accepted by his father again, who is the Emperor of the Fire Nation. And to do that, he wants to find the Avatar and bring him to his father. So he is accompanied by Uncle Iroh, who is low-key one of the best characters. He's so good. He's so funny, so likable, so compassionate, and just a zen dude who is really strong and can bring it when the situation calls for it. And yeah, so Zuko kind of goes through this amazing character arc throughout the show, which is great. And then he also has his sister, Azula. Now, Azula is straight up baddie bad, just like a little bit unhinged bad girl. And I think she's super interesting, super well done. And I just, yeah, she's pretty menacing and scary at times. And then her kind of descent into madness towards as the series progresses is so good. And then there's the ultimate baddie, who is their father and the Emperor of the Fire Nation at this time, and is the kind of big bad ultimate villain of the series, but is kind of like looming above, doesn't directly play a role until later on. So yeah, it's just about Katara and Sokka trying to help Aang master all 4 elements, because as of now he only is really good at airbending, and so he needs to learn water, earth, and fire so that he can hopefully restore the peace to these 4 nations and stop the Fire Nation. So it's a really good, interesting, complicated story building, but yet it has so full of wonderful characters, hilarious moments, touching moments. Like, it runs the gambit. It's just overall so good. We meet other characters like Toph, who's Earthbender, and she's hilarious and amazing, and also blind. And I think that's really interesting to like have a main character. I mean, granted, she comes in a little later in the series, but main character nonetheless, and one of my favorites. And she just happens to be blind, but she's one of the most amazing, prolific earthbenders. And yeah, she's just badass. I love Toph so much. And yeah, it's a good story. It's got action, comedy, heartfelt moments, and great characters. What else is there to say? Number 2, we have Teen Titans. I am not a huge superhero girl. I'm just gonna put that out there. I was never like a huge fan. I liked a few of the animated superhero shows like X-Men, Static Shock. There was a Spider-Man iteration and a Batman iteration going on. Can't remember which ones, but I would catch them from time to time. That was like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They were kind of like superhero turtles, which I would also enjoy from time to time. But I really like Teen Titans, and I've also rewatched them like a couple years back, and I still really like it. It's about a group of teenagers with superpowers, although their de facto leader, Robin, what is his superpower? He can twirl a steel pipe? Good job? I don't know, but Robin's cool. He's the leader. And then we have Starfire, who is actually an alien who kind of crash lands on Earth, and she's bubbly and eccentric, and you know, what's my favorite as a kid? I always like the bubbly eccentric character. She can fly, and she can use like green powers. I don't know, like laser green orbs from her hands, and then her eyes can shoot lasers. I don't know, it's undescript alien power. But yeah, she's kind of the fish out of water character that like, she's an alien, she doesn't know Earth customs, so haha, funny things ensue. But I really, it's cheesy, but I enjoy it. And then speaking of like comic characters, we have Beast Boy, who is that quintessential comic relief character. Doesn't take anything too seriously for the most part, and always likes to crack a good joke. I do appreciate him more than number 2 from Kids Next Door. Just the way he does it is usually more funny and endearing to me. And his power is that he can transform into any animal, which I think is really cool. And it can be even like dinosaurs or like animals that aren't alive this time. And yeah, that's cool about her. And then we have Raven, who is the kind of antithesis to Starfire. She's more dark and gloomy, and as I get older, I relate more and more to her and like her more and more. And she can fly, and she can use kind of like dark power, but part of her power relies on her like keeping her emotions in check. And if her emotions get out of whack, or, you know, she feels a lot of anger, or she feels a lot of any emotion really, then crazy things can happen with her powers. And that's kind of why she's always like trying to like just keep a mellow kind of tampered down emotion wise, but it leads to some really funny moments. Her arc, she has a really good arc later on in the series that's really good too, and really interesting about her powers and about her father. So yeah. And then we have Cyborg, who is half man, half machine. Again, not really a superpower, but at least he has powers because of the robotic parts of his body. He can like tap into computers, I think, and he has like this arm that can turn into a cannon to shoot off and stuff. So yeah, he's like a modified human, and his character is always really interesting to me. It's not like anything new or anything new, but it adds an interesting dynamic to the team, who otherwise were born with powers or don't ever have powers. Robin, who are you fooling? What powers does he have? But yeah, they come across these different little bad guys that, you know, crop up. A lot of them are humorous or are aliens, but that have really interesting powers or abilities or up to interesting tricks that the Teen Titans have to overcome. And then there's the big bad Slade, and he is menacing. He's probably one of the best villains. Like him and Azula are great. I love them both for different reasons. And Slade is just menacing and scary. I mean, as a kid, I was like, dang, I wouldn't want to go up against Slade. He's so scary. His voice acting really lends itself to the character. And yeah, he's definitely like one of those big bad villains. And Robin's character arc in his determination to take Slade down is really interesting, and I do love it. I knock Robin a lot because, you know, but his character is really interesting in the show, I have to say. And yeah, it's just a solid superhero show. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I shouldn't love it as much as I do, but it just holds a special place in my heart. And even though it, you know, it's a little more episodic than Avatar, it does have kind of these bigger arcs and these through lines, which I like. And I just find the characters so much fun. And honestly, like rewatching it is just a blast. I still enjoy it a lot. So yeah, that's why it's number 2. Okay, last up, and I'm not sure if anyone will be surprised, especially if you saw my thumbnail or know me at all, because my number 1 is Digimon. I absolutely love Digimon so much. This is a Digimon, by the way. If you didn't know, it's Tanamon. I love it so much. I really wanted a digital partner, just like I wanted to collect all the Pokemons. Yeah. But anyway, unlike Pokemon, this one has an actual story that it follows with a beginning, middle, and end, at least if we're talking season by season. So Digimon actually has a lot of seasons to it. I only watched 4 of them. There's Digimon Adventure, which is season 1, and the one I'm going to be talking about. There's also Digimon season 2, which follows the same cast for the most part, but they're older, and they add in 3 new characters and then a 4th one and later on. And those are actually the 4 new kids plus 2 of the existing cast are the actual main cast of Digimon 2. Then we have Digimon 3, Digimon Tamers, which has a whole new set of characters and adventure going on. And then we have Digimon Season 4, Digimon Frontier. And this, again, has a whole new set of characters. There's no real overlap between any of the other seasons. So yeah, that's why I want to like just preface this by saying I am only talking about Digimon Season 1. I know there's also even more, but those are the only 4 I watched growing up. So yeah, Digimon Season 1. I'm going to try not to keep going on and on about this show, but like, here we go. So Digimon begins when 7 kids are at summer camp and it suddenly starts to snow. The weather gets all wacky. I mean, this is summer camp we're talking about. And they go outside in the snow and these like beams of light shoot down. And inside the beams of light rise up a Digivice. The kids end up, out of curiosity, grabbing the Digivice, and this transports them into digital world, or the Digi world. And then they meet their Digimon partners in the Digi world. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Kids get sent to other land, and obviously their first motivation is to try and get back home. And along the way, they have to level up with their Digimon. Digimon, unlike Pokemon, can Digivolve, but also de-Digivolve. So like they can get bigger and bigger and stronger, and then also come back and be like the smaller baby form or rookie form, and that's cool. I really like that aspect, unlike Pokemon where they evolve and then they stay at that and you can't really unevolve them. So yeah, they have to Digivolve to save the kids from different threats, and the kids have to get stronger and like them help the Digimon level up and stuff. Yeah, you know. So anyway, the kids, we have Tai or Taichi. If you're watching the Japanese version, I'll just say the English and then the Japanese name, if there is one. And he is the de facto leader of the group. He is the courageous, kind of headstrong, doesn't think things out all the time. Those go-getter leader types, always ready for action. And then we have his kind of foil, and that is Matt or Yamato. And he is a bit more cool and collected. He wants to slow down and think about things sometimes, but he'll also react emotionally and is just more of an overthinker and a worrier, and I really like Matt. And then we have Matt's younger brother TK or Takeru, and he's the youngest member of the group, and he is kind of the one everybody looks out for and worries about, especially Matt. But he doesn't know exactly how to treat his younger brother because their parents got divorced when they were younger, and so they aren't living together anymore. Matt lives with his dad and TK lives with his mom, which I think is a really interesting addition to the show. And one thing I love about the show is the different family dynamics and different characters' interpersonal relationships with each other. It's one of the reasons I still love the show so much today, even with its sometimes terrible choices in dubbing. I mean, my God, some of the choices are just... Speaking of bad dubbing choices, we have Mimi. So Mimi is annoying, a bit obnoxious of a character. She's more of the selfish princess stereotype, if you will, but the dub just really doesn't do her any favors. It adds in lines that sometimes aren't there at all. Like there's just silence and like they'll add in a line. And for Mimi, those lines are usually like, I just want to be at the mall. And it's like, shut up. But she gets better as it goes on. I think the dub gets more faithful as it goes on because there's more things going on. There's more action and more to the story. So they have less chances to add in annoying dub. But yeah, that's her characterization. And she's still like a really sweet, caring girl. And then we have Izzy or Koishiro Izumi. And he is the kind of brainiac of the bunch. He's a little more intellectual. And so he can be a bit aloof and detached from what's going on around him because he's kind of focused on the bigger picture. Like he wants to know, what is this place? And like, whatever. And then we have Joe, whose name is just Joe, both English and Japanese. And he is kind of he's the oldest, but he's kind of the scaredy cat of the group. He would rather avoid danger than Tai, who wants to just jump into danger in any battle he sees. Joe wants to kind of just like avoid it. Can we go around the danger? And he's just worried about kind of protecting all the younger kids because he feels responsible because he's the oldest. But he's really not a leader, and that's why Tai becomes the de facto leader of the group. Then we get Sora, and Sora, I would say, is kind of the Abigail to the Uno in this situation where she's the shadow leader. Even though Matt and Tai are the ones focused on the most, I'd say, throughout the series, Sora is always kind of in the background, supporting Tai or nudging Tai in the right direction and just trying to keep everybody together, or else just trying to help everybody from the shadows, and those are like the things she does. And she also gets really worried at one point later on in the series and stresses so much because she wants to help everybody. She's got to help everybody. She's got to find the other Digidestined. Kids are referred to as Digidestined, by the way. And so she needs to help find them so she can get back to Tai because he's in trouble. And so she gets really stressed out about all this like expectation and this weight on her, and it actually sends her into a physical pit, which, I mean, this is just one of the best choices to me in Digimon. It just like really shows how stressed out, worried, depressed even the kids can feel these emotions too. They can feel so overwhelmed by things, and it really like shows kids, you're gonna be okay, you're gonna get out of it. And Matt also experienced the pit cave situation where he got very down and very like dejected about his situation, and he ended up there, and his Digimon partner Gabumon helped him out. And then Matt finds out Sora's in there, and so he recognizes it and he helps to nudge her out of and get her out of the pit as well. And then like once she like is like, oh, I have my friends, I'm gonna be okay, I'm not alone, the pit like dissolves. It's so good. It's so perfect. Because it's just like that manifestation of feelings come to life. And I applaud it with the family dynamics, showing different type of families that are out there that kids have, and showing like the physical manifestations of people's like feelings. I just think are some of the reasons that I still really deeply connect with Digimon. But yeah, anyway, so that's the 7 kids, and their motivation is to get back home. Halfway through the series, about or so, they encounter a new big bad. So there's a couple of big bads that show up in the series, and this big bad's name is Myotismon. Myotismon has a way to get to the human world, and he wants to go to the human world and bring a bunch of bad Digimon to the human world. Now the kids are trying to stop him from going to the human world, but he gets through. And the reason he wants to go to the human world is to find the 8th Digidestined, because he has heard a prophecy that the 8th Digidestined will destroy him. So he wants to go kill the Digidestined before they become a threat, essentially. So he gets to the human world, and the Digidestined are left in the Digi world. So now they're scrambling to figure out how to also get to the human world, and eventually they do end up both being in the human world. So again, that's when we get to see all the different interactions play out between their families and stuff, which I think is really great. And also we just get to see some of Japan, some of Tokyo, which is awesome. That like they didn't change that, at least they didn't change the names of things, which I think is good for the most part. I don't remember them changing things, because there's a part where they're like, next stop is Odaiba, and I'm like, Odaiba's a weird name for a place. But like, having gone to Japan, and I went to Odaiba, and it's like, it's so cool. Like, it's so cool to say I've been there and the Digidestined were there. Like, it's just fulfilling childhood dreams, But yeah, anyway, so now the kids are back home, but they are also dealing with digital threats from these bad Digimon that are also in their world. So the Digimon are wrecking havoc in their world now, and they have to like, fight the Digimon, and they're trying to stay low key, and that's really hard. People's reactions to seeing Digimon are really funny. But yeah, I think that's like a great choice, and what made me really love this season in particular is that like blending, having the digital world come into the human world and really make things more real, and also mixing things up. So yeah, they find the 8th Digidestined eventually. It's not really surprising to, I think, most people, but it is Kari, or Hikari, Tai's little sister, who he like questions one time and then drops it, never thinks of it again, that she might be the 8th Digidestined. It's a little dumb. But anyway, yeah, she's the 8th Digidestined, and they, end up fighting Myotismon. And then in the very end, they learn that the Digi world is in really bad shape. By the way, there is a difference in the flow of time between the digital world and the real world. So when the kids were in the digital world for like weeks and weeks, really only like minutes passed in the human world. So now that the kids have been in the human world for weeks and weeks, or at least a week, a lot of time has passed in the digital world. So now the digital world is overrun by new villains, new threats, and the Digidestined actually have to make the choice to voluntarily go back and help the digital world and leave their home and their family again. And I like that this time it's up to them. And so, you know, obviously they choose to go back and fight for their Digimon partners, you know, home, because that they've come to love their Digimon partners and want to help the friends they've made in the digital world. And it's also causing some more problems in the human world. So that's probably a good motivation too. But, you know, it's just nice that they like choose to go back into danger, essentially. And yeah, then they fight Big Bad, and, you know, yeah, yada yada, the rest is history. And I just think it's so good. The ending's so bittersweet, and always makes me kind of teary in the end when the adventure's over. But it's so good. I know I've droned on and on about it and gushed about it for a while, so I'll just say I love Digimon. It is my most favorite nostalgic anime, and if you sat down with me and started talking to me about Digimon, I would probably never shut up. Or never want to shut up anyway. So yeah, those were my favorite nostalgic anime and cartoons from my childhood. It's fun to reminisce about them and just, I don't know. I know like you shouldn't live in the past and like nostalgia can be a bad thing, but sometimes just indulging in it, just, you know, rewatching something that you loved as a child can just transport you to that mindset where you're more carefree and you have less worries. And yeah, I do like indulging in some of my favorite childhood watches from time to time. And of course, like I said in the beginning, let me know, were any of these your favorite childhood animated shows? What were your favorite if they were on this list? I'd love to know. Maybe you'll list one that I'll be like, oh my gosh, yeah, I haven't thought about that one in forever. I mean, there's so many. Like, if I keep thinking, I had to whittle my honorable mentions down so much. And it was painful because I have so many I like and like have fond memories of. And I just wanted to like throw in a couple of them, and it went way longer than I meant it to, so I do apologize about that. But yeah, I'd love to hear about your favorite shows in the comments below. Of course, I hope you enjoyed this video, going on this nostalgic trip down memory lane with me. I'll see you hopefully next Monday, but until then, bye!